We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black lives matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and we are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. Our climate change wisdom this morning was written by Adrian Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Community circles connect members with others that live in their local community. There are 9 circles in different areas who meet monthly in person or online through Zoom. If you would like to get in touch with the circle in your area, please contact the office administrator at our business number. Are we stuck, Kristen?
Are you not seeing the slides?
I see one slide.
Do you have the UU Catskills contacts on?
Nope.
Okay. Did I stop sharing inadvertently? Okay, hold on. My apologies.
Little technical glitch, folks. There we go. Okay. If you would like to contact someone at UU Catskills, a contact list is shown on your screen. If you're a visitor online and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box area on Zoom also. I'll remind you that during the service, you're encouraged to stay muted. We encourage you to read our newsletter that members and others on our distribution list receive by email. Otherwise, you can check out our website, uucatskills.org. You can look there for information about newsworthy items about UU Catskills and also about upcoming events for the month. So the announcements that were made in the beginning, they're on our website also. Weekly updates are also sent by email, and there you will find events for the coming week. Assisting with today's service, we have, thankfully, we've got our Zoom service tech is Kristen Shara, and our live music will be performed by Bill Toole. Let us be together in this community of spirit. Our prelude this morning is Bagatelle by Ludwig van Beethoven and is performed by Bill Toole. Please join me in lighting our chalice and in saying our chalice lighting words, which are on your screen. We light this chalice in grateful, loving community. Even in the darkest of times, may its flame light paths to courage, justice, and hope. Please join me in saying our unison affirmation, which is on your screen. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our opening words are titled A Prayer for Immigrants by Jessica Vasquez Torres. Source of justice, who is known by many names, let us not swerve from the path of righteousness that leads to just and equitable relationship. Open our eyes that we may see the immigrant and undocumented, whose labor enables and sustains our living, the farm worker, the hotel maid, the line cook, child care provider, the healthcare worker. Give us the courage to stand with those crossing our borders, escaping economic oppression and political persecution, seeking work to support their families, aspiring to participate in the bounty of the creation. Please join in singing hymn number 1017, We Are Building a New Way. The words will be in the video.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free, free of hate, greed, and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom, that is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Can you spotlight me, Kristen? And our story today is called Neither. by Early Anderson. You're not going to see the book, Chris, unless you make me bigger.
You are spotlighted.
I need to take up the whole page, the whole screen.
Okay. So that means I should stop. I'm gonna have to stop share, I think.
Okay, yes, stop share, right. Good, okay, great. Our book today, there it is, Neither by Early Anderson. Lots of pictures. So, once upon a time, there were two kinds, this and that. Let me get this right too. These and those. One or the other. Uh-oh, look at the egg over there. Look at that egg, it's ready to hatch. Honk, there he is, honk. What kind are you? I'm both. You can't be both. You must be neither. I'm neither. Not very happy. Why don't you find somewhere else? You're not one of us. You're neither. Neither, neither, neither. Where did you come from? I'm from the land of this and that, and I'm neither. So I'm looking for somewhere else to fit in. This isn't somewhere else, but you will fit in here. Where is here? The land of all. So many different kinds. Come play with us. But I'm different from everyone here. I'm neither red, nor orange, nor yellow, nor blue. Exactly. Excuse us, we're from the land of this and that, but we don't fit in at home. We are looking for somewhere else. But you said I was neither. You said I should go somewhere else. Well, this isn't somewhere else. This is the land of all, and everyone fits in here. This and that, somewhat and whatnot, either, very, sort of, just, rather, a little, neither, and both. All were welcome. There they are, everybody. That's our story for this morning. Not for children only, for everyone. Our words of meditation and contemplation this morning are titled, Let This Be a Place of Silence. Let this be a warm and gentle place. The silence that soothes and comforts the wounded, the silence that yields insights into heart and soul, the silence that calms, the silence that listens, the silence that speaks, the silence that renews. Let this be a place of warm and gentle silence. Take a few minutes to be still, to breathe quietly and softly, and enjoy. Half-plate donations for November will go to the Workers' Justice Center. The Workers' Justice Center of New York pursues justice for those denied human rights with a focus on agricultural and other low-wage workers through legal representation, community empowerment, and advocacy for institutional change. You'll see on the screen there are several ways to contribute for our plate this morning. You may donate by using our website, uucatskills.org/donate, by texting to the number given. Is there a number up there? No, no number up there. Okay. And by using PayPal. You can also mail your donation to our address at 320 Sawkill Road in Kingston. Our offertory music this morning is provided by Bill Toole, and he'll play Gymnopédie by Eric Satie and arranged by Bill Quist. Our guest this morning is Renan Salgado, the Director for the Human Trafficking Program at the Worker Justice Center for the last 3 years. He's been doing this important work for 23 years, and his career has been about identifying cases of labor trafficking, including legal work around farm workers. The Worker Justice Center trains law enforcement organizations and service providers that run across violations of human trafficking of migrants who are often subjected to indentured servitude or even slavery. Sometimes there are law enforcement or service organizations that consult with him on cases or that need assistance in building programs or regional task forces because of the Worker Justice Center's extensive experience with human trafficking. And now, Renan Salgado.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much, Becky, and thank you all for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm going to talk you briefly about my organization and what I do as well. Like Becky said, my name is Renan Salgado. I am originally from Ecuador. I migrated to the United States in 1984 and came to Brooklyn, New York, Bushwick to be exact. And after that, I kept moving north. So I went to Binghamton for school, for college, and then I went to the Rochester area where I lived for like 20 years. And for the last 3.5, 4 years since the pandemic, I've been living in the Catskills area. I live in Alcove, New York now. So my organization used to be called Farm Worker Legal Services. It began in 1981, and the idea was to offer, competent, quality legal representation to farm workers who have historically always been one of the most, if not the most vulnerable groups when it comes to labor right abuses, when it comes to labor exploitation in the entire spectrum, something as little as working conditions that may not be optimal to as huge as, slavery. So as time went by, for around 30 years, we were just focusing on agricultural workers and providing legal service, little by little, moving more into human rights approaches to what a orthodox legal services organization would be, and started going into other topics. Eventually, the director at the time, Jim Schmidt, in 1999, by the end of it, and definitely 2000, when I began in January of 2000, the idea was, we need to tackle not only social justice issues, not only labor right abuses, but criminal justice, and the things that are happening in the community of agricultural workers. So we started tackling also subjects like domestic violence, human trafficking, and we just started growing and growing. Our organization has multiple. And in 2011, we merged with another group named the Worker Rights Law Center, and we created the Worker Justice Center of New York. By doing so, we stopped focusing solely on agriculture, although that's still like our number one focus, where we put probably a good 80% of our time and effort. But since 2011, we opened it up for any industry where low wage, underrepresented, marginalized populations, which happen to be the majority immigrants populations here in the entire state of New York, outside of New York City. We have various programs. We have our main one is our legal program. Obviously, we're a legal services organization. So we have multiple attorneys, paralegals, and assistants. We also have an outreach and education program, which is probably what has given us the most notoriety in the state of New York when it comes to agriculture and access to agricultural workers. Because of the nature of how we are formed, we have a human trafficking program, we have a survivor services program, we have an advocacy program, but because of our structure of not being just solely legal services, but also dealing with community organizing and attending bienvenidas, attending quinceañeras, attending baptism, attending anything that deals with the community. Over the last 40 years, 42 years, we've been able to create like unprecedented access to this population that trusts us. So because of that, we've been able to maneuver in different topics and be able to assist other organizations that have the similar politics as ours, or the similar desire to help unrepresented workers, immigrant workers. So we've become, the kind of the experts when it comes to agriculture. I mean, there's other groups like the Department of Labor, migrant ministries. There's different groups that deal with farm workers from different angles. Migrant clinics, migrant education that deals with English as a second language. These are all different organizations that deal with the migrant population of farm workers in the state of New York, but none do all of it, right? And including legal services. So that has given us I'm proud to say, a pretty good position. In terms of our advocacy work, which is where I think this presentation that I'm doing to you may resonate the most with you in terms of like, how can you get involved? Besides obviously donations, which are huge for us. I couldn't even start to explain to you finances when it comes to a nonprofit organization that is dealing with a criminalized population, such as undocumented workers, or that is dealing with xenophobia, depending on the level of the administration every 4 years. And it's super hard. So the finances is definitely a way you can help, and we're super thankful for that. It keeps us alive. But besides that, something that may interest you is our advocacy program. Our advocacy program, anyone can assist us, can volunteer. But we have tackled historically, mostly everything that needs to become a law to protect the workers. When I first started, the things that we were fighting for, which were ridiculous that it lasted that long, till 1999, I think it was when the law was passed, was water, drinking water in the fields, right? Then it was bathrooms in the fields, and so on and so forth. Lately, what we probably the most notoriously have been involved in is the Green Light campaign, which is allowing undocumented workers, immigrants, to apply for a license. For many reasons, this is something extremely important for that population. We've also done, policy advocacy things around overtime pay for farm workers, days of rest. Not too long ago, we finally, were able collectively with a lot of other groups in the state of New York, including the New York Immigration Coalition and groups that you may be associated with as well. We were able to get some laws passed, and the most important, in my opinion, was the right for organizing and being able to create unions, labor unions. So we're constantly on that, and we always need assistance, whether it's direct, coming to the office and helping out with things, or whether it is being available, like putting your name on one of our lists so that you could be available for mobilizing. One of the things that lately, for example, is something that we're new at, but we're trying to get our feet in because we perceive this as a serious issue, is the horse racing industry and the treatment of the workers, which is deplorable. I mean, rightfully so. There's been a lot of attention being given to the rights of the horses, right? There's a lot of animal advocacy groups, including PETA, that have joined different campaigns in trying to bring light to all the atrocities that happen in the horse racing industry when it comes to the animals. But there has been very little when it comes to the treatment of the immigrant community that works as, the trainers, the backstretch workers, the jockeys, which is overwhelmingly the majority are from Central America, for the most part, Guatemalan, Mexican, Honduran. So this is an industry that we're going in, but I'm using it as an example because whenever we get involved in something like this, the thing that we need the most is mobilizing, whether it is feet mobilizing, like actually attending rallies, or mobilizing, whether it is assisting us with calling congressmen, calling legislative officials. So that's something that anyone can help. In terms of my work, if I could tell you a little bit of it, I'm the director of the Human Trafficking Program. the human trafficking program starting in 2000, when the former director, one of our former directors, Jim Schmidt, who actually started the organization, who passed away, may he rest in peace. He realized that no one was really fighting modern slavery. And it was very obvious that this was happening in agriculture, and that it has been happening in agriculture since the beginning of time of humanity, right? The parallel between agriculture and slavery in its many forms and in its many usage of different kind of human beings, starting in the history of the United States, for example. The history of agriculture starts with the first indentured slaves were Caucasians, were whites, Europeans fleeing persecution for their religious beliefs in Europe. And when they came over here, they were charged for the expensive trip by having to work agriculture for free, right? So they were indentured servants. Then you move into different groups. The most infamous one, that whatever you think of the word slavery, is going to be the West African triangle of trade, and the bringing of a lot of West Africans and that aspect of slavery, which was chattel slavery. But once again, they came to do agriculture. But since then, there's been so many groups that we don't talk that much about, but have been numerous and have been experiencing atrocities when it comes to working conditions, living conditions, physical harm, and just generational oppression and trauma, right? So you had, for example, Chinese, when the Chinese came over here, invited under some guest worker program to do the infrastructure of our highways, of our railroads. From one day to the next, a law was passed that is called the Chinese Exclusion Act, that if you research it, and we can all do research right nowadays, thanks to Google, there's very little explanation. There's other than racism and xenophobia, right? To pass a law that says, it's basically illegal to be Chinese in the United States. But we already had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them here doing this work. They couldn't just go back, to China. So what happened? They were placed in agriculture, right? So they were the illegal immigrants, which is a very deplorable, very nasty word to say, illegals, but I'm just using it as that's what they were called at the time. They were the migrant farm workers of their time, which was around mid 1800s, 1880s. After that, you had Filipinos, you had Scandinavians. During the Great Depression, we went back to Caucasians. It's been a whole bunch of different groups, and the latest one since 1942 till now, for the majority, has been Mexicans, right? So in the history of agriculture and slavery, what our role has always been is trying to interrupt the practice, right? And really, really be very aware of why things happen, not to romanticize the word human trafficking or romanticize the word slavery or even like immigrants, but to really see for what it is, right? And what it is an equation. It's a mathematical equation that supports an economy, many economies. This is not just pointing the finger at the United States. This is global, right? Like England, France, Germany, a lot of the industrialized nations do the same thing right now. And a lot of them say they have an immigration problem, but it's not an immigration problem. It's the result of colonialism, right? So if they have an immigration problem with, let's say, Turkey, then what is England doing in Turkey, right? If we have an immigration problem with Latin America, like with Mexico, what are we doing in Mexico that's making that group try to come up and be displaced? So the latest, for example, for all of you that know, is this massive caravan, massive shipment from Texas to our area and in the Hudson Valley as well, of Venezuelan youth, undocumented migrants, right? So what was happening in Venezuela to create that wave, right? So what we do is trying to research, trying to be very aware of what causes migration, what are the manipulative aspects that cause migration, what makes it so that people who, for the most part, live in some amazing paradise-looking places, but the working conditions, the living conditions are really attacked by corporations, by multinationals, by those that are seeking natural resources and try to take them away from their land. So we research all these things. We realize why these migrations happen and try to be ready for by the time they come. When it comes to human trafficking, labor trafficking in specific, it's something that unfortunately is the result of, it's not really something like you see like people in chains and being beaten. It's really more subtle. Human trafficking is really about debt bondage. It's about owing somebody money and working for free until that debt is paid. Labor trafficking specifically. I mean, of course, there are the other situations, the other, more violent ones, but for the most part, labor trafficking is subtle. It's as someone that owes $60,000 and has to pay it off, but can't pay it off ever because they keep having to make loans from the trafficker, or in order to send money back home, and they're working for free for a long time, and the treatment is just horrible. The housing is horrible. The working conditions are horrible. So our job is to try to identify that. Now, because we are not the biggest group in the world in order to tackle the entire state of New York outside of New York City, what we have done in order to assist us with data identification is that we also provide training. So we train law enforcement, all branches of law enforcement, federal, state. We train national law enforcement. We train international governments, not just law enforcement. Their prosecuting teams, their outreach teams, their law enforcement, even Interpol, in how to identify and how to access cases of labor trafficking in agriculture, right? So that's something that we've become internationally known for. And yeah, that's basically our work. We offer technical assistance and just try to like really minimize the amount of disgraceful actions that are happening in our state, in our nation, when it comes to the treatment of these marginalized populations. I mean, the equation has been simple forever. The equation is bring a group, invite a group, coerce a group, manipulate a group, force a group to come to the United States, criminalize their status, and then place them in agriculture, right? Or place them in industries that are heavily dependent on undocumented workers. So when I say criminalized population, it doesn't have to be only their immigrant documented status. A criminalized population can be runaway youth, for example. So to give you an example, we had a case of labor trafficking in the State Fair, the New York State Fair, right? Why did that happen? Well, because it fits the profile of that equation that I'm telling you that supports economies, right? The criminalizing of populations and then exploiting them because they feel like they don't have rights, right? So for us in this chat right now, we to give you an example of what I mean, we all know the name, we all heard the name carnies, right? Everyone, you've heard the word carny. What is a carny? Well, a carny is a derogative term for a white, for the most part, right? White runaway youth, for the most part male, right? So because of the criminalized status of being a runaway, an entire industry exploited that status. And for decades, if not a century, that industry has been plagued with cheap labor or labor trafficking, right? But we don't really think about it. We don't talk about it. We go to the state fairs and we don't really realize that the people behind the counter selling the cotton candy or selling the gyros at the Greek stand, a lot of them are criminalized populations, again, whether it's runaway youth historically, and probably for the last 10, 15 years, that has been taken over from Caucasian runaway boys to immigrants that are brought under different kind of visas and guest worker programs, and eventually forced to overstay their visas and then stay here in an undocumented fashion, therefore a criminalized fashion, right? So construction, hotels, restaurants, domestic servitude, these are all industries that their structure is set up to exploit the worker, right? For their status, for whatever that status is. And our job is to identify. Our job is to offer assistance, trust, first of all, to see if they want to leave the situation, if they trust us to take them out of that situation. Our job is to get together with other organizations that want to do our work together, to work with law enforcement, train law enforcement, assist law enforcement, have them assist us. Our job is to try to remove people from situations of extreme oppression. And by I mean we, I mean the human trafficking program. And simply give them all the options that they have, whether it is immigration relief by filing for a T visa, U visa, which is visas that are given to those that have suffered crimes such as human trafficking, by giving them the opportunity to voice what their version of justice is. We are not here to be like law enforcement and be like, we need to put the guy behind or the person behind bars that did this. We are client-centered, client-informed, trauma-informed. Justice should come from the person that suffered that victimization. Justice should come from the survivor, right? So if the survivor's justice version or definition is they just want their passport back, or they just want to be reunified with their baby back in Mexico who is being held by the parents of the trafficker, whatever it is that they need, that's what we want to do. We want to offer those choices and try to use all our resources to help do that. That's the human trafficking program. The survivor services program is the one that offers all the services that come once someone is being removed from their situation. Someone has already been receiving legal services from us, already has been receiving immediate services. The survival services program then creates this holistic approach at giving back survivors, autonomy over their path after leaving a situation like that. But that's basically our organization. We're small. Right now we are 20 something, probably like 25. We have offices in Hawthorne, in Kingston, and in Rochester. And we're just that little David versus Goliath. We're really fighting a lot of industries that are super powerful. Agriculture is extremely powerful. It's the most powerful industry globally, no matter what the country is, no matter what the state is. I mean, it's how people get fed. And if you think about it, agriculture also comes in with tobacco, big tobacco, pharmaceutics, big pharma. This is all part of agriculture, right? So we do fight that Goliath when it comes to the industry itself, when it comes to the politicians that try to back up those people that want to be abusive. But here we are, and we are extremely thankful that you have taken a look at us, and invited me to come and explain what we do. And anything that you want to ask, anything that you want to connect in, please. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, Renan, for your excellent talk. Afterwards, we have, by the way, the smaller gatherings. If you'd like to join, and people may be able to ask you questions directly in that. Okay, and then we're almost towards the end here. Okay, thank you. Our hymn today, our final hymn today, sprung up a little over 100 years ago during the time of the newly empowered labor and women's suffrage movements. It was popularized during the Lawrence, Massachusetts textile workers' strikes and the demonstrations after the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in New York City. So please join me in singing hymn number 109, As We Come Marching, Marching. The words will be in the video.
Hold on.
Okay.
As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, a thousand workshops gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing bread and roses, bread and roses, as we come marching. song of bread, small art and love and beauty, their drudging spirits know. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we come marching, marching, we bring the greater days. A rising of the women means a rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler, and that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses.
Our closing words come from Unitarian Universalist President Susan Frederick Gray. The basic right and ability to live and to be housed, to access healthcare, and be active members of thriving communities should not be an exclusive for labor. Our value and dignity is not calculated by hours we toil. It is our birthright. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the practice of democracy in our institutions and our larger world. This is what democracy looks like. To those on the picket line, we say, strike, huelga. Yes, we can. Si se puede. And join me in saying the words on the screen as we extinguish our chalices. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Bill Toole will lead us in the benediction. Can you switch to hit the view of Bill? Kristen?
I don't have the right, camera, but we'll sing
Okay, all
anyway.
right. Okay, Bill.
From
All right, just sing away.
you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you all. Have a great day today. And I wanted to say that for those of you who are joining us on Zoom, actually you're all joining us on Zoom, but you're invited to stay and you will be assigned to a breakout room if you wish to stay. And it will take a few minutes to switch you over to that virtual room, but do have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Was it perfect like you, honey?
Pretty good. It went well. He's good. He's really knowledgeable about his stuff there. Yeah. Okay.